Hi, everyone. It's Rozlyn Warren, and welcome to the Dare to Thrive Circle, preparing for your pivot. We are experiencing unprecedented change. As you know, everywhere we look, something has shifted. And while this could freak us out, as spiritual visionaries, we know there's a higher purpose to what could otherwise seem like normal run amok. And so, let me ask, how are you feeling? Many of us are feeling off, out of sorts, like what used to work just isn't working anymore. And if we aren't aware, we can decide that we just have to push and work harder, which, friends, is never the answer that Source would give. What if any discouragement, disconnection, off feeling is nothing more than a gentle nudge for you to shift directions? And I know it can be scary when everything that you have built feels like it is asking to be burned down. And while that could be true for some, the pivot you're being asked and guided to is usually not that dramatic. So I wanted to dive deeper into this issue and question, and I've brought together amazing visionary entrepreneurs who have each made a pivot in their lives and asked them to share their experience with us. And today we're chatting with my dear friend, Phyllis Ginsberg. Phyllis is known and beloved by lots of happier, healthier, and less stressed working professionals as their survival to thrival expert. She's the author of 2 books, The Brain Makeover, a weekly guide to happier, healthier, more abundant life, and Tired and Hungry No More, not your ordinary guide to reclaiming your health and happiness. Her 30-plus years of experience as a marriage and family therapist and her expertise in positive psychology, brain research, and EFT tapping give her clients an edge in making lasting, profound changes in their lives. Quickly, they shift their stressful thinking to achieve calm, clarity, and creativity. That means that the quality of their lives and work gets better, often in a moment. Welcome, Phyllis.
Thank you, Roz. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
Oh, me as well. So I know that you made a big pivot in your life. How did you know it was time for a pivot?
I want to say I probably resisted the little nudges early on until they became bigger and bigger. I don't recommend that. But when I knew it was time is when I stopped enjoying my work, when I was feeling stressed because I took on way too much as a child custody evaluator. And this was in 2005. 2004, 2005, I was cranking out 2 custody evaluations a month, which was a ton of work, plus seeing a whole bunch of clients. And all of this was in the area that was my area of expertise, was high conflict divorce. So we are not talking about tame cases and just sitting back and like, as a therapist, no, this was being on pretty much 24/7 and doing report writing on the weekends. And I did eventually was asked to travel to different states where parents, divorced parents lived in different states. And so I go do all these assessments. At some point, I realized I lost myself. I was disconnected from me. I tried to do everything I could as a wife, a mom, a husband, 2 kids, a dog and a cat at home, doing the carpool, like all that stuff. And there was no me left. And I started to feel so out of sorts. My body was not happy. I wasn't sleeping well. And I, one day, was like, I can't do this anymore. And I took a sabbatical for a year. I had to stop. And it took 6 months to get clients out of my head.
Yes.
I was toast. I was like beyond the nudges.
Looking back, how would you have identified the nudges? So if we've got someone who's at the beginning and they haven't gotten to the point where there's nothing to do but stop, but they're ignoring nudges, what can they look for?
I think it's really confusing right now in this day and age to wonder, are these nudges, or is this the stress of just the environment that we live in? So good questions to ask yourself would be, what am I feeling? How is what's going on affecting me? Is there something that I can do or that needs to shift for me, such as your work environment might be something that is distressing because there aren't enough workers and you're doing the job of more people than you used to. That's a heavy load. Anytime that you are in overwhelm, high fear, high stress, high overwhelm, if you look at what's causing that, it will give you signals. Now you might be in super high stress and fear over, there's a virus out there and I might get it and I might get sick and I might have to go to the hospital or I might die. That you can pivot some thoughts, but actually pivoting your life over those thoughts is very different from taking a pivot in your life. Like, I might need to change jobs. Maybe where I live isn't the best place for me. My relationship might not be the best. You know, these friendships, these so-called friends, well, we don't think the same anymore. So I might need to pivot to some new areas of support.
So what is the best way? I think you've alluded to it a little bit, but what is the best way for someone to differentiate between the two? That it's just a environmental, this moment we're in stress, or it's actually the universe tapping you on the shoulder that there's something more for you, there's something better than what you're experiencing. And to me, I think possibly that actually the societal stress at this moment could be part of the tapping. It could be part of what the universe has lined up to take you in the direction. And one of the things I want to make sure I say, it's the universe is always taking you in a direction that you really want to go. Your soul wants to go in, even though you sitting in your whatever you're in right now might go, nah, no. If the universe is moving you somewhere, it's because it's where you really want to go. Oh, Sophia's got me goosebumped all over. So, okay.
I had one of those experiences when I was doing some trainings. I actually ended up taking a little more than a year off because I want to spend time with my kids before they grew up and went to college. But I had to continue my training so I could have my certifications to be a custody evaluator and renew my license and all that fun stuff. And so there was an expert that came to speak on the brain of a child who lives with domestic violence going on in their family. And when I saw that, and I was listening very carefully to this brain science, a light bulb went on for me. And I knew in that moment I would never do another custody evaluation. And I got the answer. There was this pivot in that moment. I've had pivots since then because I applied the pieces that I was learning through brain research and positive psychology with the high conflict divorce families and was getting amazing results. And then another light bulb moment. Wow, what would it be like to work with people who weren't court ordered to see me? And what if I worked with people who really wanted to make some lifelong changes, some permanent changes, to be happier and more satisfied and contribute instead of contributing to chaos and crisis and draining a system, that they actually could flourish and thrive.
Very important questions.
Mm-hmm.
So is that part of what led you to write your first book?
I think there was something about writing for me that I don't really remember having these yearnings for writings, but I have these yearnings for getting information out,
Mm-hmm.
for being able to take complex things and sifting them down to real basic, common sense, concrete, something that people can apply, not just information. You won't read any of my books and find science in them. They're not scientific, they are applicable so that you can actually get some results. But I started writing a blog before I wrote my book. And I was just like having a grand old time writing about, basically it was my experience, the transformation that I went through getting out of burnout. And so I'd write a couple of paragraphs, like they were very short and sweet, because I didn't have the bandwidth nor the desire to read long things or write long things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned that blog, I blogged 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And through a lot of it, I didn't know often ahead of time what I would be writing about. I'd sit at the computer and I'd get this download, or I'd get a spark of an idea. And, oh, I got to write on that. And before I knew it, like in 5, 10, 15 minutes, I was done. I had it. I posted it. So I accumulated a year's worth of 5 days a week and put them into my 2 books.
Beautiful. And I love that, this feeling. Many of us think, oh, I got to make a change. And then we go immediately right up into our head and start plotting out this whole thing. And if we are guided and conscious, we're going to be gently moved. Now, it may take something like, for you, it was burnout to actually finally get your attention. But from there, the universe can very gently just move you from thing to thing to thing. And of course, how does that happen? We stay in the present moment. So I know you as a friend of mine, and I know how that's exactly how you flow, is you're in the present moment and the guides give you something and you move on it and then wait for the next thing.
Yes. And I'll have to be honest, there were moments where on this journey of transforming from what I had an expertise in to my new expertise of leading people through the process of what I know and discovered really works with, like, significant populations of disturbed people. And I know what it takes to make that shift. But along the way, I worked with people with cancer. I volunteered at the cancer support community and did workshops there. I'm like, when my guidance said, yeah, you need to go do that. And I'm like, like, you want me to do what? And I kind of went kicking and screaming for a year or two as I was transitioning and figuring out really who am I serving and what's my niche. And then I went back once I like got all that training right under my belt of like really intense stuff. Then I could go back to, okay, my background is business oriented. I have my undergrad degree is in business. That's my comfort level, is being around people in business. They're easy to deal with. I can talk business stuff, and health is like super high priority for me. So I had business and health. And when I paired both of those together, because fear, stress, worry, anxiety, all of that affects your health. And if you are having a tough time, I don't care if you're running a business or you're running your household, you are trying to manage something much bigger than yourself.
Absolutely.
And it's going to take a toll on you if you are really struggling.
Yes. And the struggling itself wears you out. And so then it becomes this like self-perpetuating cycle.
Exactly.
And I think too, the other piece, because we've talked a bit here about being guided and about using your intuition and using your guidance, regardless of what you're trying to run, like you said, whether it's a business or a family or your own life, if you insist on being the only one in charge, we're talking recipe for disaster.
Right. And it used to work in the past. What I have found over the last like 10, 12 years, what I have found is that there are more and more people coming to see me because the old way of coping is not working anymore. The survival brain, survival ways of being, those habits of thoughts and feelings and actions that we picked up in childhood that were passed down generationally are not working anymore today.
And I 100% agree. And, you know, I go through the whole thing of, you know, we have shifted from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, you know, the stars have aligned, and, you know, my husband rolls his eyes, but there's truth to all of that. And what else are you seeing for the shift from the way we've done things, especially as, you know, the age we are, what we've done all our lives, but what our parents have done and our grandparents did, and back, that has all shifted. And what are you seeing as the impetus for that, if you will?
What I'm seeing is there's this huge shift taking place. I don't know that many people have really shifted yet.
Correct.
I think that we are in transition, like all of us are in this big pivot together. And that pivot, to me, it seems like it's pointing in the direction of co-creation, collaboration, connection, unity, not doing things by yourself anymore. All of that is putting us in a place where we can feel connected, supported, held. We don't have to do it alone. And it's a huge it's a huge like transformation and pivot from the way I was brought up.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's like the class book definition of the Aquarian age. And so, and I think that's a piece of when I wanted to bring forward this whole point on the summit is we are all going through this. And some of us did it earlier so we could be here to show y'all the way. A lot of people are here right now, and it could be scary. So we're here to tell you, you can do it. And I always like to say, the universe is going to take us where we want to go. We can go easily, or we can go being pulled through the knothole backwards. And I'm going to vote for easy. So
I've done both. And I can tell you, choosing to do it easy and be guided. And for me, I like things to be a little on the slower side. I could say I'm more a turtle, the tortoise than the hare. I don't like being like shocked and surprised and, you know, like, don't spring this big thing on me. If I knew what it took to get where I am today in one fell swoop, I would have never signed on for it.
Yes.
And would I trade it? And no way. I would never trade one bit of it, because where I am today is so incredible. But I can't know even for my future, where I'm going, I know is incredible, but I don't want to know everything right now because it will freak me out. It'll stress me out.
And I think it's when we're still in that little bit of, I need to control everything to be safe, that we need to know. And when we can get ourselves to the place where I am fully supported, then we can let some of that go. Which brings me to my next question that I want to ask you is, when we're in some type of crisis, like hello, we've all been in, it's very difficult to make clear decisions. So from a brain science perspective, what keeps us from being able to make decisions, and what's your prescription?
This is probably the best question because every time that we get into fight or flight, right, we are in stress, high stress, chronic stress. We've got thoughts of fear, worry, anxiety, those obsessive thoughts, the worst case scenario thoughts, all of that stuff that's going on. What it does to you physiologically is that you're prepared to fight or flee. So who needs to digest food when your life is at stake? Nobody. Who needs to have their brain functioning in all areas? Nobody. You just need to be like everything lit up for survival. It is not a time to create. It is not a time to be creative. It's not time to think possibilities. It's like, do I stay or do I run? You're making two decisions. And so when blood flow gets sent to your extremities, right? We're going to need blood flow to our hands, arms, strength to fight, or we're going to need it to our legs to run. That's pretty much what the body was designed for. We are not designed to be in chronic stress and overwhelm and fight or flight. We are not built to be in fight or flight when we open our email and see something from our doctor, our boss, or our ex-spouse. But that's what happens. We've gotten so conditioned to be in the survival mode. And you can't think straight.
Right.
You become reactive. And it really takes you out of your ability to make any wise decision.
So how do we counteract that?
So the best part, the easiest, the simplest way to counteract this is to look at your thoughts, because everything starts with a thought. An emotion is tied to a thought. It has to do with something you made meaning of. And so when you can shift your thoughts to anything else, even a neutral thought is better than a stressful thought. A curious thought is better than a stressful thought or a fearful thought. A happy thought is actually one of the best things that you can do for yourself. It puts you in a place of, instead of running stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, now you've got this cascade of feel-good hormones, some serotonin, some dopamine, and you're on your way to having clarity, connection to wisdom, guidance, intuition. From there, you've got possibility thinking, and you can discern what's next. You can tap into some knowing, or at least this possibility exists of, wow, that could be the right decision for me.
So how can we, well, let's see, I'm always lean toward happy. That's my thing. So you have some steps or some help for us with this happy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yay.
And I'll tell you that I have used this to help women make decisions about their cancer treatment, to help people decide do I continue this business or that business, this job or that job? So at those pivotal moments when you're making crucial decisions, you have got to be able to connect with yourself in a way that's different from being in fear and stress and overwhelm.
Yes.
So yes, this is my playground. I love this. Okay, so the first thing is to become aware of your thoughts.
Mhm.
If you don't know what you're thinking, but you know what you're feeling, then you can say, okay, I'm stressed. What's going on? What might be causing me to be stressed? Oh, I'm thinking about this,
Mhm.
or I had this experience. Okay, so you will know. You can keep happiness top of mind. You might put some post-it notes around that say happiness. I actually have a rock on my desk that says happiness.
Mhm.
It has not been in my nature to be happy. I grew up being super serious because of the household I grew up in. And so when I was in burnout, coming out of that, I did what would be the third thing that you could do is keep a happiest moment of the journal, happiest moment of the day journal.
Yes.
I did this for a year because I had to train myself to think happy thoughts and to notice happy things. So as I was going about my day, because I knew at night I'd be writing 3 to 5 things in my journal, I'd be looking like, does that make me happy? What makes me happy? And the littlest things like, a sip of tea, that first sip of tea or coffee, seeing the roses, the peach roses blooming in the backyard, sunshine, feeling sunshine on my face, hearing music that I enjoy. Like those things made me happy. They didn't cost anything.
Mhm.
It's in those little moments. Happiness isn't one big something that happens once and it's done. It is a series of moments that you want to cultivate.
And it's
So,
and here we are back to that. It's the moment awareness of what's going on around you. Because if we're not aware and in the moment, which these tips you're giving us are beautiful because they can bring us back there, you're just going to go up in your head and go off who knows where.
You're going
after the future somewhere. You're not here.
You're going to do default programming.
Yes.
You're going to do your habit of whatever it is that you've been doing probably all your life that you don't have to think about. It just happens like this and it's instant. So we have to insert some awareness so that we can break that pattern.
Yes.
You need a break and then replace it with something else. And awareness is the first place. So we've got the first 4, now the first 3, right? Become aware of your thoughts, keep happiness top of mind, look for your happiest moment of the day, and keep a journal. The next thing that really can help people, if happiness doesn't resonate with you as much, or maybe you need a different word, focusing on appreciation, gratitude, positive experiences, and successes.
Yes.
Take your pick. Any or all of those will put you in that same shifted place of a frame of mind that you can say, wow, that was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And you can't feel pretty incredible and stressed at the same time.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
So those are our 4.
Okay. And the 5th one, I've got the last one is to laugh and play more.
Hard to do when you're stressed.
Yes. But it is a great pattern interrupt.
Yes.
Because if you're super stressed and you put on a comedy movie, video, look at a funny photo, read a joke book, tell a joke, ask somebody to tell you a joke, like it's going to interrupt the pattern and the habit in your brain that keeps you in chronic fear and stress.
Yes.
And overwhelm.
Yes. Oh, that was so important. I love it. That pattern interrupt, we just allow ourselves to get, like you said, we fall into the hole. And when we're stressed like we've been for what, the past year and a half, it's hard I'm gonna phrase that the other way. It's easy to fall, like you said, just right back into the default. So I know that you have a really incredible gift for the audience. Would you share that with us now?
I would be happy to. So it's called Cope with Stress and Overwhelm in 5 minutes or less. And this is a guide that gives you 5 different things that you could do that in 5 minutes or less could help you not just shift your thought and energy, but it might also give you some insight. Kind of like when you take a step back, when you stop and do something different, and doing one of these 5 things, you don't have to do all of them, just one of them could bring you some relief so that you can go back to a situation. Let's say you're in an argument with somebody, or your kids did something and you want to like punish them, and you want to give them this huge punishment, you know that you don't want to really have to carry that out. But you can take a step back and get yourself in a place where you can say, okay, what would I like to do in this situation? And then you can go back and participate from a place of calm, clarity, creativity, and possibility.
So it's really a way to allow you to respond to life instead of reacting to the life.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I think we've been talking about all day, is this, we're at choice. We're always at choice. Am I just going to flare up and react, or am I going to take a half a beat and respond in a way that will make me feel better about myself and might actually help solve a problem? Oh,
exactly.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome gift. And friends, you can access Phyllis's Cope with Stress and Overwhelm in 5 minutes or less by clicking the button here below the video. And I'm really eager to discover those myself. And thank you so much, Phyllis, for being here and sharing your wonderful tips with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Roz.
It's been fun. And you've been listening to Rozlyn Warren and Phyllis Ginsberg on the Dare to Thrive Circle, preparing for your pivot. All of our interviews are available to watch and enjoy all week long through February 18th. And to ask questions and meet our speakers, join us over in our pop-up Facebook group. And thank you for joining us. And until next time, believe everything is possible. Trust yourself and dare to thrive.